Construction of the first cities. Before skyscrapers touched the clouds, before governments ruled nations, before borders divided the earth, there was only land, river, and survival. Thousands of years ago, human beings did not live in cities. They lived in small villages, simple homes made from mud and straw. Life was about farming, hunting, protecting family, and surviving another season. But something extraordinary was happening. Humans had discovered agriculture. They learned how to plant seeds, harvest crops, and domesticate animals. For the first time in history, food was not always scarce. There was surplus. And surplus changes everything. When there is more food than needed, not everyone has to farm. Some people can build, some can trade, some can lead, some can pray, some can design, some can protect. And when roles begin to divide, society begins to grow. In a region later called Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the soil was rich, but the rivers were dangerous. Floods could destroy everything. But the people did not run from the challenge. They studied the rivers. They dug canals. They created irrigation systems. They learned to control water. And when you control water, you control life. Around 3500 BCE, something rose from that land that the world had never seen before. A true city. Its name was Uruk. Uruk was not a small settlement. It was massive for its time. Tens of thousands of people lived inside its walls. That alone was revolutionary. Imagine strangers, thousands of them, living together, working together, depending on each other. Mud bricks were shaped and dried under the sun. Walls were constructed for protection. Streets were organized. Homes were built close together. Markets formed where merchants exchanged grain, animals, tools, and crafted goods. At the center of the city stood something magnificent, a towering ziggurat, a stepped temple rising toward the sky. It was built to honor the gods, but it was also a symbol, a message, carved in clay and brick. It said, "We are powerful, we are organized, we are no longer just survivors, we are builders." Uruk required leadership. Someone had to organize labor. Someone had to manage food storage. Someone had to settle disputes. This led to structured government. Priests and rulers gained influence. Society developed layers: farmers, craftsmen, merchants, priests, leaders. For the first time in human history, humans experienced complex social systems. And then, Uruk gave humanity something even more powerful than architecture: writing. On small clay tablets, symbols were pressed using reeds. At first, they recorded simple things: how much grain was stored, how many animals were traded, who paid taxes. But gradually, writing evolved. Stories were recorded, laws were written, names were preserved. For the first time in human history, memory no longer depended only on speech. Ideas could survive beyond a lifetime. Uruk was not just bricks and walls, it was the birth of civilization itself. While Uruk flourished between two rivers, another transformation was unfolding along a different river, the Nile. Unlike the unpredictable rivers of Mesopotamia, the Nile followed a rhythm. Every year it flooded. Every year it left behind fertile soil. The people of Egypt learned to depend on this rhythm. The Nile became their lifeline. Around 3100 BCE, a powerful ruler unified Upper and Lower Egypt. With unification came stability. With stability came ambition. A capital city was established near the Nile's delta, Memphis. Memphis became the political and administrative heart of Egypt, but it was more than that. It was a symbol of unity, a physical center for a newly united kingdom. The pharaoh ruled from Memphis, not only as a king, but as a divine figure. Authority in Egypt was centralized. Decisions flowed from one ruler. That level of control allowed massive projects to become possible.
Temples rose in honor of gods. Palaces stood as symbols of royal authority. Storehouses protected grain supplies. Officials recorded harvests and taxes. Engineers designed structures that would challenge imagination. Near Memphis, some of the greatest monuments in human history were constructed: the pyramids. Think about what that means. Thousands of workers organized in teams, stone blocks weighing tons transported across distances, precise alignment with the stars, careful mathematical planning. This was not random labor. This was organized civilization at its peak. Like Uruk, Memphis depended on agriculture. Like Uruk, it developed administration, religion, and social classes. But there was a difference. Uruk was one powerful city among many city-states. Memphis was part of a unified empire under one pharaoh. Two different models of power, two different systems, but both proving the same truth: humans had learned to build beyond survival. The construction of the first cities changed human identity. Before cities, loyalty was to family or tribe. After cities, loyalty expanded to something larger: a state, a kingdom, a civilization. Cities required laws, laws required enforcement, enforcement required authority, authority required structure. Trade expanded beyond local villages, goods traveled long distances, ideas spread, culture evolved. Architecture improved, art developed, religion became organized, education became necessary for scribes and administrators. Cities created complexity, and complexity created progress. From Uruk's mud bricks to Memphis's stone monuments, humanity proved something extraordinary. Strangers could cooperate on a massive scale. That cooperation is the foundation of the modern world. Every government building today echoes the administrative centers of Uruk. Every written contract traces back to clay tablets. Every monument that touches the sky follows the ambition first seen in Memphis. The first cities were not perfect. There were inequalities, there were conflicts, there were struggles for power. But even those challenges shaped political systems and social evolution. Urban life required adaptation. It required rules. It required innovation. And innovation became a habit. Without Uruk, there would be no written law codes. Without Memphis, there would be no blueprint for centralized government and monumental architecture. These cities did more than house people. They reshaped human destiny. Today, when we walk through crowded streets filled with traffic, lights, and technology, we rarely think about the beginning. But the beginning was simple: clay shaped by human hands, water controlled through canals, grain stored for the future, leaders organizing labor, symbols pressed into wet earth. From those humble beginnings, civilization arose. The construction of the first cities was humanity's declaration that survival was no longer enough. We would build, we would organize, we would create systems, we would leave something behind. Uruk and Memphis were not just places on a map. They were the first bold steps toward the world we now call modern. And every city that stands today, no matter how advanced, no matter how tall, carries within it the ancient heartbeat of those first builders who dared to dream beyond survival. That is the power of the first cities. That is the beginning of civilization.